Hi, team. Welcome to the Escape Podcast for Star Wars The Old Republic. Coming up, we close out the year with a wrap-up of all the things that went on in 2016. Our our broadcast astromech today is EPC 175. Hey, 175, do you want to know what the odds are of you ending up in an escape pod tonight? Yeah, high. High. With me, as always, is Seema. Hi, Seema. How's it going?
Oh, it's going good. I'm having a happy holiday season, but I'm happy to be here on the podcast tonight and with our fantastic chat room. In SWTOR this week, I've been spending time crafting and leveling crafters because I kind of have it in my mind that I want to get my main crafters at least to level 66, and they've been kind of hanging out at 50 or 55 for a while now, so been working on that, which meant I played my Jedi Guardian for a while, which I literally have not done that in forever.
Guardian.
Yeah. And she's Vigilant Spec, in case you want to know. So she's a DPS spec. But that's been fun, and I've been running around with T7, and T7's healing, so she basically could just run into any situation and start whacking things, and it comes out fine. Last week for Conquest, we had Nar Shaddaa, and she got a bunch of Conquest points by doing the heroics there on Nar Shaddaa, and that actually got her a bunch of levels too. So I finished Personal Conquest on her and got her from like 50 to maybe she's 61 now. My goal for the crafters is at least level 66 so that they can do 8. They can send 8 out.
Yeah.
But that's more for the crew skills, the ones that have important crew skills. And I've also been working on companion influence, which is really hard for me because I have very low tolerance for it. But I'm getting there. And I'm looking forward to watching a bunch of Star Wars movies because for Christmas I got the Star Wars digital 6-film collection, which, by the way, has some bonus features too.
It does.
Just go into your library. So I was thinking that you wouldn't get the bonus features without getting the DVD. So I don't know if it's the exact same set of bonus features, but I'm happy about that.
Like the Christmas special? Like the Star Wars?
No,
Christmas special?
no, like interviews with people and stuff. Is the Christmas special on the DVD?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think they try to bury that thing.
Yeah, I would imagine. So that's what I've been doing, but as you can see from those activities, I haven't gotten a lot of Command XP on my main, so I'm kind of hanging behind on that. I see. I still got to work on that. It's coming up soon,
awesome,
real soon now. How about you, Max?
So I am doing well, and as you heard from the intro, if I don't know if anyone caught that reference, but that was a reference to Rogue One, which I did see, which was awesome. I was telling Seema, who hasn't seen it yet, so no spoilers, but not your typical Star Wars movie, but yet so much just a Star Wars movie that it worked out really well, I thought. Saw it with my kids last night, and it was pretty cool, and made them all want to then go and watch, especially A New Hope, because that's sort of what comes next, so that's cool. And a bunch of stuff in Star Wars. Been doing all the things, a little bit of everything. I have been doing quite a bit of GSF. So what I decided to do was I've been PvPing a lot, and every once in a while that GSF bonus comes up like it was today, and I said, okay, well, I want to get back into GSF. I do like GSF, so I decided that I wanted to try out, I wanted to learn bombers. We had Sten, one of our officers, who's not playing too much right now, but he was our bomber expert, and he had really good success flying bombers for quite a long time. I always flew the scouts, the Flashfire or the Sting, and I flew some of the gunships, and I did really well with those. But I decided that scouts are pretty frantic because you're like zooming all around and zipping around. You got to really be flying all over the place. And gunships are sort of twitchy, where you're trying really hard to aim. I wanted to get to something where I could relax just a little bit more. I wanted to relax when I was doing my GSF. So I decided I don't know if the bomber will be that, but so far it's feeling a little bit more relaxed than either the frantic movement of the scouts or the twitchy aiming of the gunships. I can drop a couple mines, an interdiction and a seismic mine, and then I can focus just on shooting some things, which I'm pretty good at. My flying skills are pretty good, but you don't fly all that fast with the bomber. It's more about defense and then using your drones to best ability. And so I'm having fun with that. I've done it enough to at least do my weekly last week and this week already so far today in one day. So I've been playing enough to start building up some of the unlocks on that bomber too. I think on my flash fire is mastered, which means you've unlocked everything. My sting on the Imperial side is not yet, but close, and same with the gunship. My bomber is completely brand new, so I'm flying the razor wire right now. So we'll see how it goes. If people have advice for me, shoot it to me on Twitter or the forums, or post it to the website or something. I'd like to hear what bomber you fly and have a lot of success with. I picked the razor wire based on some things that I read, and I'm using interdiction and seismic mines. That seem to be working out pretty well. But I'd be interested to hear what other experts are saying about, should I be flying the Legion or blah, blah, blah. So that's that. That's what I've been doing.
You make it sound fun.
I do, don't I? You should play. Let's go. Let's go fly some ships. Yeah. But first, before we fly ships, we will talk about some news.
Now, an Imperial News Network report.
Now that sound effect was probably too loud. I don't know what I did. I messed up the level. I should have listened to the levels of the sound effects before I started the show. We'll fix it in post. But chat room, you might have it a little bit too loud in your audio right now, and on the YouTube video. For those of you watching YouTube, you get the unedited version of the podcast, which is now you're hearing all the making of the sausage right now. So, cut. Back to the news. First up in the news, we are hanging out here in House Organa on the server on Jedi Covenant. Carrie Fisher passed away, and I knew she wasn't doing great. I knew it was pretty rough what she went through with the heart attack over the weekend, and we heard she got out of intensive care, but she had a rough time of it, and I'm sure that was a tough thing to come back from. I know how that is, and I was pretty sad about it, and still am. So. Yeah. I know there's quite a bit of the SWTOR community and communities everywhere that are doing things, but in SWTOR on every server, you're seeing congregations of people around Alderaan House Organa. That I think that's sort of cool. I like when that kind of thing happens in the game. So yeah, I expect we're going to see a lot of sort of tribute stuff on Twitter too, and it's warranted. That's what I'll say. So that's that. How about you, Seema?
Well, I just want to say, too, I have a lot of respect for Carrie Fisher, and I am very sad today also. But leaving that topic for now, we have a new toy, which is SWTOR Bot, which Max found on Reddit, but it's actually, we use it in Discord, and you can basically ask it questions, and it will respond to you with information about SWTOR. It's really cool. So you can ask it things like, what is the DVL status on Jedi Covenant, or put whatever your server name is, or part of your server name. And it will tell you, it's like at Dark 1 or Light 5 or whatever. It'll also tell you math. Like if you want to know what a particular relic, the maths are for a particular relic, you can ask it that. And this is by typing. And the guy who developed it said he's going to make it work for Amazon Echo too, so that's what I'm looking forward to, because then you can ask it with your voice.
Right. He did a great job. So so in my day job, I deal with a lot of boring versions of emerging technology. So stuff like this, which in its own way is really cool and interesting. But the idea that the conversation with an agent of some kind being the emerging UI of the future, which I completely believe. Within three years, apps will start to decline even more than they already have, and the AI will be the new UI. But this is the kind of example of where you're going to get that. So he has tapped into feeds from SWTOR data, SWTOR calendar, Tor status, Reddit upcoming events, and a few other things, and he's going to try to get more and more plugged in. And also then tapped into natural language processing. I don't know which NLP, either libraries or service that he's using, but what that combination of data feeds plus NLP gives you is the ability to just have a conversation. And in this case, it's mostly in text, either in Discord or other kinds of chat, but chat with the bot, ask it some questions, and find out what you need to know. More and more,
And
I think this is
setting
going
it
to
up for
be...
Discord wasn't even that hard, right? I mean,
No, not at all. Yeah, you're right. Couple clicks. He even has a link that goes right to the authorization where you just pick your Discord server and it pops in there as another member, and then you talk to it. So you say @SWTOR bot, what events are coming up this week? And it says, hey, there's Bounty Contract Week this week, and the conquest is Galactic, all Total Galactic War, or whatever it is.
and not to be too meta about it, but he has also set up a Discord so that if you have questions about asking questions of SWTOR bot, you can go to his Discord and ask questions.
So props to Derek Martinez, who did a great job. He posted it on Reddit and a couple other places. I recommend looking that up. That's a really cool thing. Also in the news, we're starting to see, and this was also from my time trolling, not trolling, my time strolling around Reddit. I've been seeing reports of people hitting Galactic Command rank 300. Now, yes, some of this was people that were taking advantage of the early capability to do like grinding of the gold mobs for for 10 XP each, to 10 Galactic Command each, and then the Karaga's Palace thing where you're grinding all the champions, and those things are now murfed. They're murfed. Don't ask what murfing is. You don't want to know. It's worse than nerfing. It's terrible.
It's an old term.
But he still, even after those, he's still continued his grind, and he's up to 300. I think we're going to start seeing a whole group of people that are now hitting 300. I am, and I shouldn't say only because I'm farther than I thought. I think I'm like 31 now. Not on this character. This character is not even level 70, so that doesn't help me. I think I'm like 31 or 32. So I'm not nearly as far as I would hope to be. It still seems like a really long way to 180 for me. I think we should be getting to 180, which is where tier 3 starts, which is where you get the 240 gear. That's really the target that I'm looking for. If I'm not 180 by the end of January, that's too long for me. But we'll see. We'll see what it ends up like. At this rate that I feel like I'm going now, I wouldn't be 180 by the end of January. But the fact that we've got people already hitting 300 tells us that for the hardcore, this rate of gain is not terrible. For the casual people, having some sort of catch-up mechanic or having it be faster for us might be nice. So that's that.
Yeah.
And when might we hear about things being faster
So
or
we're
changes?
both looking forward to dev streams coming up in January. They didn't really set a date for the first one, so I'm guessing it won't be next week, but that would be nice if it were. We would love it if they put that, if they said, yeah, and we're showing up this week with a dev stream. But yeah, I'm hoping that'll be in the first part of January, not the second part of January.
Yeah. I hope it'll be soon too. I expect the part where they committed to talking about large group content won't be till later in January. But as we talk about looking back at 2016 in general, the fact that they've had so many dev casts and are continuing to commit to keeping those up is a good thing. So I'm looking forward to them starting back up in January. In guild and community news, nothing specific, but a lot in general. A lot of our pals, Bad Feeling, Utini, Corelli Run, Passionate Casual, are all. I feel bad because there's so many. I know. Kid Lee, Volk. I could
The usual
name everybody.
podcast.
All the usual suspects. We'll have some cool.
Motorista.
Yes, Motorista.
Sorry.
Yeah, because I'm
They
gonna
all
feel
have
bad when I
year-end
leave
stuff,
somebody
so,
out.
Yeah.
Year-end stuff. So there's going to be a lot of fun things going on. This is our sort of little year-end wrap-up, and then the first week in January, we always do a predictions for the year type podcast. So these are two sort of fun ones for us. I've got a little extra holiday cheer here going on for our party tonight. But keep an eye on all of the contributors, the community, the podcasts and streams. There's a lot of end-of-year stuff going on. That's really cool. So I'll give you that. What about our guild, Seema? Anything going on?
So if you want to join our guild, or if you want to learn more about it, you can actually read on the website aie-guild.org. That will tell you about AIE, the big guild, the guild that's in mini games. But if you would like to join our guild here in SWTOR, you can just, we're on Jedi Covenant, just hop into a channel we created for the purpose called AIE LFO and ask for an invite. And we have a guild on the pub side and on the imp side. Best times to find us about would be in the evenings.
Yes, it would be. Although, especially this week, if you jump in right away, I've been on quite a bit during the day. I'm playing hooky from work a little bit this week. So there you go. If you want some early morning invites, you might be able to get them. Come fly GSF with me, and we'll shoot some dirty pubs or imps or whatever.
Yeah, I usually do play a little bit too during morning coffee and contemplation time. And if you're already in AIE and other games, I do keep an eyeball on Discord throughout the day too, so you can always ask for an invite there as well.
Yes. Good point, Seema. Discord is something I'm keeping an eye on even when I'm at work on regular days on a regular basis. So we can always call, shine the bat signal and get some officer online if there's a time that you only get on in the morning, for example. I know we have couple people in Australia and New Zealand lately that we play with
Yes, we do.
early when we can, because that's their evening. But with that, I think we can get to some of Days of Future Past and talk about 2016.
Through the Force, things you will see, other places, the future, the past, old friends long gone.
Yes, the future, the past, old friends long gone. I'll kick it off by saying thank you to our chat room and our listeners and people who have posted on Reddit and asked questions and on YouTube. You guys have been great. It's in addition to us supporting the guild and getting new guildies in, that's number one why we do the show. Having you guys hanging out during the show and asking questions and doing all that stuff has really made this much more interactive and fun for us too. So I really appreciate that. In particular, we've had some winners of our little drawings going on that we do at the end of the show and on a regular basis. I've got almost all of those up to date. I was a little bit behind. So check your mail, Stavis Pristyhs, Pristtyhs on Jedi Covenant. I sent you one. Corley might have gotten one, although I might have already sent it, but I sent another one just in case, because I didn't have it formally checked off my accounting list. Asheritix, who is also a Hemi on Bergeron Colony. I think I sent you one, but I sent you a note in Twitch too, just to make sure. I want all of this wrapped up before the end of the calendar year. So, Eliond 2, your pack is unlocking as of this morning. So Raylight on Harbinger is your character. You will get that. 2 that I don't have names for, Rylock and Ferocity with a P, Phrocity. I need character name, servers, and faction for you guys. And then whoever we pull tonight. So there's that. And then we're gonna be all caught up, and we're gonna kick off 2017 and have fun with all of you guys again. So thanks a ton. I do appreciate it, and I know I bet Seema does too.
Yes, I do.
But the year in review. So I think one cool thing that I put in my notes that I thought was interesting was we sort of have bookended 2016 with two relatively big Star Wars movies. And the first one we expected to be big, which is The Force Awakens. That was a long time in coming, and everybody was really excited. And yes, it was good. I thought it was great. Some people thought it was pretty good, only okay. Some people thought it was great. I liked it. I think the fact that it was bookended at the end of the year, and that was December of last year, but sort of the start of the year, that it was bookended by the end of this year with Rogue One, and Rogue One has been such sort of, critically acclaimed, is pretty exciting. Star Wars is so mainstream now that it's pretty amazing. So it's good to see. I'm glad that we've got a lot of Star Wars in pop media and mass media.
Yeah.
I think that's only good for us. So I know you saw at least Force Awakens. We haven't really spoiled anything for Force Awakens, really, have we?
I did see Force Awakens. I do want to see Rogue One. I just don't know if I'm going to be able to pull it off this week.
Yeah. I know you'll see it relatively soon, and for anybody that hasn't seen it, I'd certainly recommend it. As I was saying, I think before the show, or did I say it during the show yet? I don't know. It's in many ways it's not like any Star Wars movie you've seen so far, in some really good ways, and in some other ways it's totally just a core cool Star Wars movie. There's in no way will you say, this doesn't seem like a Star Wars movie. So I really liked how they did that. They took things in a really new direction, but it's totally Star Wars. It's a lot of people. So chat room is saying a lot of people are saying it's even better than The Force Awakens. A lot of people are saying it's the best of all of the Star Wars movies. I would, I grew up with the episode 4, 5, and 6. It would be tough for me to say that it's.
I figure there's a little
better,
bit of love the one you're with going on there, though, too.
Yeah, and the new hotness and that kind of thing. Any port in a storm. Let's throw some. Because this is going a little too far. But yeah, it's good. It's good. So, not to get your expectations up too high, Seema, but it's the best thing ever. No, I would say it's good. Yeah, I know you're good at that.
I'm looking forward to it.
So what else? What else kicked off this year, Seema?
So other things that went on in the game this year. Well, we had Knights of the Fallen Empire and Knights of the Eternal Throne. So the chapters for Knights of the Fallen Empire basically started. It was like the second part of the series at Knights of the Fallen Empire, and it started in February, and we had a chapter pretty much every month until August. So we had one chapter a month, and then Knights of the Eternal Throne, that became available for early access in November, actually 11/29, and then general access 12/2, and then of course we all know those chapters all came out at once, and I enjoyed all the chapters really from this year. I had kind of a slog going through the first part of Coffee, but I really enjoyed all the ones that came out this year, and then I thought Knights of the Eternal Throne was, really good, really interesting, and it really kind of pulled me through, so I was happy with that.
Right. It really did.
What did you think of the story?
So yeah, I liked the story. I get how they did it differently between the kicking it off or the finish up of Knights of the Fallen Empire, which was chapters 10 through 16. Having those break chapters where you did like Profit and Plunder with Galt and Vet, and they had their sort of like little side story, and it took you sort of out of the main plot. I didn't mind that though. I thought that was fine. I didn't mind either way that they did it, and I get why they wanted to sort of do it a different way and then release everything all at once with Knights of the Eternal Throne. But I still liked how they did Knights of the Fallen Empire, and I didn't really mind once a month. And I get people saying like once every 2 weeks or once a week might have even been better. But I didn't mind once a month. I thought that worked out okay. I liked the break chapters because I liked, well, like that one in particular. I like Galt. I like Vet. I thought they were good, fun characters in that chapter, and it was like a good little fun side story. Yeah, I liked it all. But I'm a fanboy.
I thought,
So.
for me, Knights of the Eternal Throne was just much more intense for not having those side stories. And I did
It
enjoy
was.
Profit and Plunder, but the month cadence was too long for me because, I have Swiss cheese for brains, and, I just,
Yeah.
a month later, I wouldn't even really care about that story anymore. So I get that having breaks is good, though. So maybe like once a week would work for me.
You're right. It was too long to have the mental continuity of the storyline. It was just perfect if you were a podcaster and you wanted recurring
We
content to
always
be able
had
to talk
something to
about.
talk about.
And so maybe that's what I was got a little bit of that coloring my evaluation of how that worked. But yeah, so that was a big chunk, of course, of what was going on, and I didn't realize it went all the way through August. So it was February through August were those final 6 chapters. 7 chapters? Why is there seven
Yeah,
listed
I
here?
mean,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, seven.
yeah,
7 chapters. 10 through 16.
right.
But then a whole bunch of other stuff was still going on throughout the year too. So
Yeah,
what
so early in
else?
the year, we got the Eternal Championship, which was kind of a big chunk of content. I personally have played the minimum amount of Eternal Championship, just what I needed for DVL, and before that, just what I needed for some achievements. I don't think I even got all the achievements. I'm not sure why. I think because it's just really hard in a healing spec, and I never got around to. I mean, when I say hard, I think it's more work because this is a philosophical comment, but when I was running around on my Guardian today and yesterday, you really don't have to worry about anything if you have a healing companion. But if the roles are swapped and you're the one healing, you kind of have to worry about everything, like where your companion is, and where you are, and what the mobs are doing, and do you need to pull them out of something and send them back in? And just seems like DPS, all you have to do is just run in and ignore everything. Just do what you feel like doing. So
I
I don't know.
think, yeah, there is that difference in playstyle between the different classes, the different builds. I always tend to, when I'm leveling up or I'm going to do a bunch of PvE content, solo, I tend to fall back to get a healer companion and give me my DPS spec. I think I haven't leveled up as healer or soloed as healer very much. That's sort of like a interesting. You've got the best perspective on how that really works and how
So
that feels.
I guess when you're just running around the world and doing heroics and stuff, I don't think it makes that big of a difference. But when you're doing Star Fortress or Eternal Championship, where there's mechanics, it's does make a difference, I think.
Yeah,
One of the things I really like about SWTOR is they do make what's going on in the world. They make it fine for healers. Like leveling as a healer is fine, really. And because you can have a DPS companion or even a tank companion if you're in like a sticky situation or you want to play, if that's your play style or whatever. But these mechanics heavy things, I don't think it works that well for healer. So I really want to go back and try both Eternal Championship and Star Fortress with a DPS spec. And with my Guardian too, I don't even know how to play the Guardian. I read like a Dolphy guide one time, and I arranged my buttons according to the rotation they gave, and that's all the research I did.
yeah, and it's easier than playing a healer. You're saying because it's
Yeah,
DPS. Yeah,
yeah.
S-
And things die really fast too.
yeah. So I
It's a lot less boring. Like when I was complaining about all the Sky Troopers, well, yeah, it takes longer to kill them when you're, yeah.
So this character that I'm on right now on the Republic side is my Vanguard. I typically have gone DPS spec on the Vanguard when I've been leveling. However, now that I started putting this Vanguard through the story for Knights of the Eternal Throne, I decided I was going to keep it tank spec. And there too, as long as I've got, sometimes I'll switch the companion to DPS, sometimes I'll keep the companion heals. It's easier. I think it would be easier than healing, than trying to figure out how to be a healing spec and try to progress solo with that. Even that's going pretty easily. So I would not want to have to rely on my companion to be doing the bulk of the damage, and then I'm having to do some damage, even though I'm in healing spec, and it being, I think that would, it's probably not optimized for that, unfortunately. So I could see that being an issue. Regardless, I did get through Eternal Champion easily on my DPS spec. I didn't do it. I did it some on the tank spec too. You went through it with it just a healer spec though, right?
I went through which now?
The Eternal Championship.
Yeah, I only did everything on a healer spec.
Yeah, so that's a good challenge. That's because you're such a pro healer. Now, so were you DPSing some too?
Oh yeah. In fact, some fights, especially in Star Fortress, like some of the end bosses, I ended up putting my companion on healing spec also, so we were both healing spec.
Interesting.
But that takes a long time, and you got to do a lot of as much interrupting as you can because, yeah.
Yeah. So what else? Weapon tunings. Oh, I don't have them on this character, but there's some good weapon tunings out there. So those came out this year.
I love the idea of the weapon tunings. They're so subtle, though. They're too subtle for me.
They're too subtle, except for the ones I have on my mark. I really like, which is I was trying to remember what it was called earlier. I was trying to say it in guild chat too. It's the one where they spark and then smoke comes out and they light on fire a little bit. Those ones I like. But you made the point the other day that the new one that just came out, which was the Life Day something weapon tuning, where it's just a little sparkle effect at the end of the barrel of your weapon. Yeah, that's sort of really subtle. And some of the ones where it's just putting a little bit of a light, a little bit of sparking or lightning effect along the blade of your lightsaber. You're right, those are pretty subtle.
I do appreciate that they're doing that, and I think it's good that, I think some people would prefer that. It's just me, I want, especially if I'm going to pay millions of credits for it, I want it to light up like Nar Shaddaa or something.
Yeah. Yeah, it should shoot rainbows out of it, out of the end of it. There's some. This reminds me of Guild Wars, and I think I had some sort of hunter spec in Guild Wars, and the epic weapon that you could get was the bow itself was a unicorn, and you shot rainbows out of it or something like that. That's what you should have. It is something at least really dramatic like that. Yeah, I agree. I really like when the whole weapon, and they did this. It was the PvP rewards for season 3 or 4. The weapons themselves were on fire. The whole weapon was flaming the whole time. That's dramatic.
I mean, I'm glad they're doing something with the weapons. I wish it was costume, though. I wish we could do the costume thing on our weapons.
That too. If we could add the weapon as part of the look in your costume designer, that I think that would be great. The chat room made a comment, which I completely agree. The Grey Helix lightsaber that you get from the Gree event has a better weapon effect than most of the tunings, and I completely agree. And that lightsaber hilt that you get from the Gree is legacy bound, so you could pass that around as well, which I love.
Yep.
So I get that one all the time for a lot of my Force users. They use the Gree weapons.
I'm sure they have limitations too, because limitations by the artwork to come up with some effect that's going to work on every weapon.
Right. And, Delphi always does a video when they come out with each of the weapon types, so you see what they have to work with. You see their challenge when she goes through all of them. It's got to work on a sniper rifle. It's got to work on a blaster.
Yeah.
It's got to work on an assault cannon. And wow, those are relatively different weapons. It's got to work on a double-sided lightsaber. Okay, I get that that's a challenge, but still, the idea of the whole weapon, like glowing or exploding or being on fire or something like that, they could be a little more dramatic, I think, with some of these. So that's that. What else? Couple little contests and single day events that came up this year. What did we have?
We had May the 4th,
Yeah.
Double XP, an astromech.
Little
Astromech.
prizes, little gifts, yeah.
Yeah, pet. The speed contest for Eternal Championship.
Oh, right. I forgot
then
about
also
that.
later, I think it was a little bit later in the year, they had the Build Your Alliance, the contest in partnership with NVIDIA, where people made videos. That was announced in April, and I don't know when the winners were announced, but you can actually go still see them on YouTube if you're curious.
I forgot about that too. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then that led into around June, end of June time frame was the start of Dark versus Light.
Yeah. And Dark versus Light, I actually, when it first came out, I was not going to participate, and I ended up by the end of the summer doing the full boat. I went all the way.
Meaning you went to Legendary, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I did all the hard modes. I did GSF. I did PvP. I did 8 characters leveled to 50. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that. I did, every crafting skill to 500 or whatever it was, and yeah, it actually worked out pretty well for the guild. We've kind of spent the summer helping each other out on things, and it gave us some direction, which is, I'm sure, part of what the event was supposed to do. So it worked for that, at least for us.
Right. Yeah, I know there was a lot of criticism of it, and there was a lot of people saying it was dumb. Well, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I won't go into my ranting
It is
about
dumb,
the
but
criticism.
at the same time, what isn't?
Yeah. Right, exactly. Yeah, they cured lung cancer, but they did nothing for melanoma, bastards. Whatever. You can never win.
Yes, it was completely all reused content, but that's reusing content is part of the trick of running an MMO, is finding ways to do that.
So I know it was different, and it was sort of a really lightweight version of what they do in Diablo. But Diablo is all about each season doing that kind of thing. You have to roll a new character or a couple new characters and start from zero, and you do this whole season thing, and you get new pets and new achievements. And there's more cooler stuff for doing it in Diablo, and I think they could probably expand if they ever did. I think they would need to if they ever did a DVL thing again in SWTOR.
Oh, they can't do this. No. Oh, no. I would be shocked if they ever did this specific event again. I know they said they might, but no.
If they cranked up the rewards a whole bunch and maybe backed it off so you didn't have to do 8 characters, I could see it working out. I don't know. I could see it working out again.
I see them doing maybe some event version of the new Dark versus Light stuff, but I think the new Dark versus Light stuff has forever changed the Dark versus Light landscape, and they won't be able to go back to this version of it.
True.
I think that's
actually a
why
good
they
point.
ended up. That's the reason they wiped the achievement. It wasn't because, we might run it in the future. I'm just speculating now, but it just seems like that's such a lame reason that there was some other reason that became easier for them.
Yeah, so Seema's alluding to, by the end of the year here with the launch of 5.0, they wiped out the DVL achievement list out of your achievements tab, which made a whole bunch of us quite upset because 90% of what I was doing it for, in fact, still to this day, I have not opened a single one of my DVL crates, my prize crates. I don't know why. I don't know. I love a Schrodinger's box is what I love,
Yes.
which
It
means
might have awesome stuff in it.
there could be anything in there, and I refuse to collapse the waveform. So that aside,
Well, the really bad thing about the achievement is they didn't just remove the achievement, they zeroed them out. So they were still
right?
there, but it was like you
Yeah.
never spent the summer doing it. It's like, ah,
But
like I said,
they said they'll go back from that. They said they'll at least give you
yes.
the meta level that you got to. Whether you got to Eternal or Legendary or whatever you got to, you will get that credit in your achievements.
But
But
it just, you just wonder what they're thinking sometimes, because like, seems like MMO design 101, players do not like having achievements taken away.
right. Achievements. I achieved this. That's yeah. But your little insight there that because they were inventing the dark versus light server events that were going to be a persistent part of the game, and them taking out the achievements because it sort of clashed with what they were doing with that. I think I didn't really think that all the way through. So you might be right there. That was a big chunk of why they took those out.
And they're going to put it back in some form, but they're having to do some work to do that. So,
Yeah.
further evidence.
Yep.
Let's see what else went on
Yes.
this year.
What else?
In July, they published that infographic, which was kind of a compilation of information about how many things and people and players and characters had done. I remember when that came out. It was pretty fun to look at.
Right. They should keep that up because it does give you more of a perspective on sort of where the game's at and how big the game actually is. It's a relatively significant game on the MMO landscape. It's not the biggest. It may not even be the second biggest, but it's close. So that's interesting to see and hear and know about. Keeping that up to date, especially the metrics that matter, I think is interesting. A lot of the metrics don't matter, which is like,
Right.
how many operatives have people rolled since the
Created.
launch of the
Yeah.
game? Yeah, I don't care about that.
Right.
And that means nothing. But how many people how many active subscribers are there? That's really interesting. And where does that go over time? Obviously, they're
how
not going to reach
many
a whole bunch of that, but
characters have killed XYZ boss? That would be interesting.
yeah. I know they use a lot of that metrics and data analysis to make decisions. Pulling back the covers, pulling back the curtain. Got to be careful with what euphemisms I come up with. But yes, revealing more of what's going on behind the scenes in terms of those metrics, I think would be really, really interesting and would possibly justify a lot more of where their decisions are coming from. If they said, look, it's this percentage of people that are doing this and this much a thing that's doing this, because people hear them say a thing like that and they jump to the wrong conclusion, which is, well, the only reason people are doing blah, blah, blah is because blah, blah, blah. It's, they're not dumb. They get what's motivating people and where some of the limiting factors are. So seeing all of their data sets and where the decision making comes from, I think would potentially be pretty revealing in a good way, but maybe not.
Yes, Django Fett just mentioned in the chat room Star Wars Celebration. That was in April too, in
That's
London.
right.
That was
And
another high spot.
Yeah, you're right. And that was in the middle of the year, and we got cameos from a lot of the cast members. We got
Oh, that's right.
Mark
Valen
Hamill.
and
Yeah, Valen was there. There was the SWTOR, the mega SWTOR Cantina event.
right.
That they did a big, huge costume contest about, and there was that dude dressed up like Arkin, who was
Yep.
really, really good. Yeah, that was pretty cool. I wish I could have gone in London. So Zen in the chat room is saying he wants to try to go next year. I don't know where it'll be next year, but London, that would have been great.
Yeah.
Could have had some excuse to get out there for seeing it in London. London's one of my favorite towns in the world. Town. I'll just call it a town. Little town. Little quaint little burg.
Also in July was when Knights of the Eternal Throne was officially announced.
Right. So that set
And
up
we
the
we
sort
might
of
have gotten
the
that still picture too that we now know is Valen and Senya, but remember all the speculation about who those two characters really were?
yeah, which I got wrong. But
That's not why I'm bringing it up, but just saying.
but let's call a spade a spade. You did really get it wrong, Max. You were just completely wrong. So, congratulations on your wrongness. But yeah, so that came out, and it was a long time before that and the launch. But that little bit of announcement threw a little bit of a thrill into what was going on in the summer there. I did like the graphic. I did like them throwing it out there. I did think that was interesting, and it was a fun thing to talk about. So they also then led into, by the sort of as those couple months went by and they finished up Knights of the Eternal Throne by about August, they started leading into that lead up into what was going to come for. No, they finished Knights of the Fallen Empire. They should have named it something different. They should have done, because I don't know, the names were, I think the names are too
Similar?
close. Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, I think that the Knights of the Eternal Throne should have come first, and then the Fallen Empire should have come second, because the Cool had sort of already fallen then after the fact. But I think Arkin and Thexan were sort of the Knights of the original Eternal Throne, and that was like their story to start. Anyway, side note on
I know
that.
it doesn't make much sense, but I always thought it was referring to like the Zakul Knights, which actually makes no sense at all, but that I didn't think about it.
And unless
Why
they
would
were
the
talking
story
about
be
you,
named after them?
unless they were talking about
Yeah.
us, like you are, they kept showing that Jedi Knight in the trailers as sort of the Outlander, right? So
Right.
if the original Empire and Republic fell, then you were the Knights of the Fallen original, that Empire, and then you became the Knights of the Eternal Throne. Spoilers, but too bad. You rule the Eternal Throne, and in the Eternal Throne, you become the Knight of the Knights of the Eternal Throne in the second
The
one.
Knights that formerly said "knee." Oh my gosh! I love
Wow.
a good Monty Python reference.
Merely a flesh
Thank you
wound.
for that.
They should have had Thexan be
Force
the one
Chuckle
who
is in the house.
survived, because then he could have been the Black Knight. I am the Knight of the Eternal Throne. None shall pass. Yes, that would have been awesome.
And Zen says, "Don't forget the cinematic." Which, yes, in October we had the fantastic cinematic Betrayed, which
Yeah.
was really a high point, and it actually got a lot of attention for our little game out in the real world.
Right. That had a lot of play, and I really liked it. I think the only flaw is that Valen didn't look like Valen in the game, how she looks, which I think they could have done a little bit better of a match than that.
Right.
But the quality of what they put together with that, it was such
And the
limited amount of
feels.
dialogue. Yeah.
Yes.
So to use to use game asset style graphics, obviously they did it separately. It's not in-game footage. But to tell, to show a story, to show not tell as well as they did in that trailer, I think was pretty amazing. It should win an award. It should win an Academy Award. Best animated short. There you go. Write-in candidate. Everybody get that in there. So they went through the rest of then a whole series, and I think this is a good point to bring up. They went through a whole series of dev casts all throughout the summer, all the way through the fall, all the way through the launch, past the launch, all the way into December, where they were ticking off, they were talking about what was coming, they were talking about what they did, they are unveiling new features all the way along the way. I know in past years, one of the big criticisms that everyone has had has been, hey, BioWare, you don't communicate enough. You don't tell tell us what's going on. You go dark, and we haven't heard from you in months and months, and blah blah blah. That did not happen this year. This is a big change for the better, in my view. They, maybe it's not everything that you wanted to hear every single time, but I think they did a really good job of communicating. What do you think about that, Seema?
I give them huge props. I mean, it was quite a turnaround. And yes, no matter how much they communicate, we're always going to want more info, more this, more that, or we're going to disagree with them or whatever. But they realize that that's not a good reason for not communicating at all. So I give them a lot of credit, both to Ben Irving and Eric Musco and Charles Boyd for, stepping up every week and giving us the info that they could give. And I think somewhere in there too is when they started saying, we're going to talk about group content in January.
Yeah.
They've been repeating that quite a bit, so that's another reason why we're excited for live streams in January.
I think we can, I think there's still room to criticize of why don't they just tell us sooner than January what's going on with that group content. However, I like at least that they're owning up to the fact that, yeah, I get that that's what you want to hear. Specifically, we hear you saying, what about new ops? What about new war zones? And they said this on the stream, and I give them props for that at least. We're not ignoring it. We see you typing this in all caps multiple times over and over in the Twitch stream. Thank you. We appreciate your input. What about new ops and what about new war zones?
Where, we, the community, do them a disservice is saying things like, you're ignoring this and you're ignoring that. When they're not ignoring it, they're just not giving us the answer that we wanted.
Right. And not the answer you wanted or not when you wanted it. They're not ignoring it. But I by the end of the year, they really got sort of cheeky. What am I don't know who I am, but using words. Oh, those chaps, they got a little cheeky there. Anyway, they did.
I don't know what kind of accent that was.
There was a whole amalgam of every kind of accent I would think of that would use the word cheeky. There was a little bit of
in that case, it was very
Minnesota
successful.
plus Scottish plus a couple of the London dialect, so England dialect. Anyway, yeah. By the end, they were like putting up the bingo card of like,
Yes.
here's how why we hate what you say on dev streams, and they're like, all right, here we go. And Musco really got explicit every time that it was like the Q&A session. Yeah, I see in the chat room you're saying, you suck because you're not telling us about ops and where the hell are the new war zones. I'm reading you saying that right here. I see you saying that we are going to talk to you about that specifically in 3 weeks. Well, okay, at least they're really getting explicit, and you get the feeling like they're getting there. Yeah.
Ben Irving commented about, how it doesn't help at all to type in all caps. In fact, it makes it harder to read. He said that a couple of times, so I love him for that.
But, so holding...
I've gotten to the point where I turn the chat off because I can't stand to see it scrolling by.
Yeah. And the fact that they concentrate hard to try to pull signal out of that noise, I appreciate that too. Again, a lot of things to potentially criticize for over the course of 2016. I'm sad that we haven't had ops. But of the things that they did do, they did some things this year. So now we're going back through that list. They finished off one expansion. They did a whole nother expansion. They did some events. They did some public events. They did a bunch of communication. They added some new game features. They added a whole bunch of updates to the game, with the new expansion, so we could, for as much as we love or hate it, they're trying new things with Galactic Command. They're trying new things with the way the crafting updates, crafting all changed this year. We barely talked about that. They went through quite a bit, they're working. They're trying they're trying things and they're working. So I give them credit for that. Good,
They made that bonus chapter, the HK 55 chapter.
right. They gave us HK's hollowed out head to record. But no, that chapter is a good example of something good. The hollowed out head is an example of something
That's right.
not great.
They did the graphics change, the UI and graphics update.
Right. A lot of
You know-
really smooth and creamy graphics in the load screens especially.
I mean, we haven't talked, like you said, we haven't talked even much about crafting, but I was thinking as late as today, it's like I've already forgotten it used to be that way. I was walking into my ship and I remember those days when I was kicking off slicing missions and I would go in and out of my ship trying to get the ones to come up so I could just send just the rich ones, and now you can just do that every time.
Right. And continuing to get the sort of the quality of life things added to the game. I still go back. I play everything. I play all the MMOs. And in terms of quality of life, Star Wars has got it going on, I think, as far as that goes. Are we short on the kinds of group content that we're all, really craving? Yeah. Do we have like crafting and travel, crafting that really does matter, and travel that really gets you around, and a housing system that feels like a cool and useful place that's persistent and works from expansion to expansion, and the idea of guild ships still being useful and relevant, and there's a lot of really cool things like that in this game too. So
I mean, we have it all over a bunch of other games in terms of easy travel now.
right, easy travel, easy resurrection when you die.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if you don't die very often because you're overpowered, that's a little crazy when you die in some other games. You gotta like spend 10, 15 minutes trying to figure out where you are and what you did and how you get back to life. That can be a real pain in the ass. So that's going well too. We'll save for next week, and maybe this is a good place to sort of wrap it up. Lot of stuff went on this year. A lot of movement in the right direction in terms of communication and paying attention to the community. The influencer program, them reaching out to podcasters and streamers, is another example of that I think that went really well. But what we'll save for next week is what we hope for in 2017. And I think we have a lot to hope for, and I think they have a big opportunity to really deliver. And I think we have a big opportunity to get our hopes up really, really high, which is always the best place to start at the beginning of the year.
Only Max knows how high my hopes really are. I told him in detail the other night.
So,
I'm not saying it in public, though.
If you want to
When we were
contribute
talking
to
about
that,
ops.
yeah. If you all out there listening want to contribute to that and sort of put what your one top hope for the year is, and what your one wall of crazy wish for the year, which you don't expect to actually happen, but your wish is, I would love to hear that,
Yeah.
and maybe we'll read some of those out on the show next week too.
Yep, we'll read them out.
We sure will. Anything else, Seema, before we wrap it up for 2016? Show 175. Can you believe it?
175.
Man.
That's nothing.
It's a pittance. Child's play.
It's child's play. Well, I say that, but when we went from like 25 to 50, it seemed like such a huge, oh my God, 50 episodes. But now every additional episode is just like another drop in the sea.
Yes. Eric Musco asked me a couple weeks ago, "Are you guys gonna keep streaming the next couple weeks during the holidays?" And I'm like, haven't missed a Tuesday. 3 years, my friend. Haven't missed a week. So of course we are.
Of course, he wouldn't know that.
No, he wouldn't know that. Well, we got a couple shout outs on the dev streams too, though. We got that going for us now.
Yes, that's true.
So there's that. So yes.
I don't know. I think we've touched on pretty much everything. We didn't really say a lot about RNG. Someone in the chat said, "Are you going to talk about RNG?" But I think we kind of covered that in a previous podcast. But we will talk about intrinsic and extrinsic reward systems at some point.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Maybe that'll have to be like a bonus for our hardcore listeners in a post show coming up. We'll dive deep into intrinsic versus extrinsic motivations and how we could change that up in Star Wars. But I think for now, I think that the odds of 175 EPC droid getting kicked out in a podcast are high. So we got to get to that. So thanks to all of you for joining us on newoverlords.com, on iTunes, on YouTube, or live on Twitch. We will stream again next Tuesday night on twitch.tv/newoverlords around 10:30 p.m. Central. Please follow us on Twitter at MaxTheGray and at AIESEMA. Come find us on YouTube at youtube.com/newoverlords, and you can subscribe to us there. And please come find us on Jedi Covenant and ask us for an AIE Guild invite. We would love to have you. And we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.